Welcome to Spiritually Raw. We expose and explore controversial truths, myths, and theories surrounding the spirit world. Guests include QAnon experts, investigators, debunkers, and skeptics of the supernatural, unexplained, and flat out unimaginable. Content discussed on this show is not necessarily the opinion of the cast of Spiritually Raw, and topics quite often are for mature audiences only. This show is not intended to replace any medical, financial, or legal advice and is for entertainment purposes only. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Hi, I'm Victoria Reynolds with Fearless and Free TV. I wanted to share with you real quick what HempWorks has done for me. Now, I've tried several, actually numerous CBD products over the last couple of years out of curiosity to see if any of them actually work because I'm already so high on life, if you will. And HempWorks products are the only ones that I've noticed a difference with. For me particularly, it's been the CBD with melatonin. I found that melatonin on its own doesn't do anything for me. Actually, I'm one of those backwards people. So melatonin tends to keep me awake. However, the CBD with melatonin has been great for helping me sleep. Also, the CBD with the curcumin has been great for navigating some pain that I have had for years in my neck and shoulders. And that has been helping as well. And I have to admit that I had taken myself off coffee, but I do like the HempWorks coffee. And I think it might also be because of the mushrooms that are in there. So I've really been enjoying my HempWorks products and also the other products that are on my daily choice because I'm a big fan of some of their other products as well, such as the essential oils. So I wanted to share that with all of you. If you're curious and wondering if HempWorks actually works, in fact, it does. Until next time, get bold, be fearless, and live free.
Hello, everybody. How are you? And welcome to Spiritually Raw. Thank you so much for your energy exchange with us today. We hope you woke to the most miracle morning and are also having the most fortunate day today. So we have a promised with us today, like promised everybody. Yeah, you're going to find out about Vernon Mahabal here in just a moment. April's going to let you know about who Vernon is and a little bit about Vernon's backstory before you bring him on. Before we do that, I do want to remind you to stay connected with us. The best way is to go to our website, spirituallyraw.com, and the email thing will pop up. Just put in your email right there, and that'll keep you notified on any up-to-dates we have, such as great guests like Vernon. So make sure you do that.
Don't just ignore the fact that the website's under construction. So just put your email. Just put your email.
We're renovating to better serve you.
Exactly. So, yes, thank you all so much. And so I just want to take a quick little second. Thank everybody for everyone who's looking into going through the site, the HempWorks site, and certainly for those of you that are purchasing it. We're so super grateful. And we're just hearing awesome testimonials from so many people. As a matter of fact, honestly, we've never heard one negative thing at all. And I just wanted to kind of share with you something recently. I think every day we're just going to talk about one product for just like 30 seconds because we are going through all the products just like you. So it's exciting for us. And recently we just discovered this. You guys are going to love this. This is the HempWorks Pure Glow, and it's a hair serum. And we both actually started using it last week. We absolutely love it. It makes your hair soft and shiny and very manageable. And especially being in Florida, we're under the sun and everything, and we just love it. So if you guys are looking for something
for your hair,
a little foo-foo for your hair, take it to that next level, have it grow back, more manageable, especially if it's curly, highly recommend the HempWorks hair serum. And with that being said, thank you all so much. Yeah, let's talk about Vernon. This is going to be so much fun. Vernon Mahabal. He is the founder and director of the Palmistry Institute in California. Now, in 1979, that's really when he began his formal training in Vedic cosmology, which took him to India many times. So we're really looking forward to hearing about those experiences. Vernon combines both Eastern and Western astrology disciplines into his practice, and he's read literally thousands of hands. He's given hundreds of lectures. He's trained hundreds of students, and he's also the palmistry consultant for Coast to Coast AM. He's the author of 3 bestsellers. The first one is The Secret Code on Your Hands. The second one is The Palmistry Cards. And the third one is Crossing Paths. His institute restores the art of palmistry to its previous dignity and respect. And check out Vernon, go to palmistryinstitute.com. Again, that's palmistryinstitute.com.
All right.
Welcome, Vernon.
How are you?
Thank
Thank
you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
It's
it's a
nice to have you.
pleasure.
So let's
It's our
dive.
first palmist.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited about this. About the part is our first palmist in like
Out
10
of
years.
1,400 interviews, you're our first palmist. So
Whoa.
yeah, we're
Are
excited.
you're not a dying breed, you're a coming
Fantastic.
alive breed, right?
Yeah.
You're a coming alive. Good job. So let's get if we can just a minute to get to know you, Vernon, if we can, and then we'll get into your backstory. So you went to India for a lot of your training as a Westerner. How did you? What drew you to India for the training? Was there something significant there that you felt like you couldn't get where you were at to be able to learn what you were doing?
Absolutely. I learned the Western palmistry from a person named Patrick in New York City. And I just watched him read hands for 5 years. And he taught me everything. He taught me the whole Western system. Palmistry actually is a branch of astrology. It's not different than astrology. It's like the sister of astrology. It's the sister of astrology because it has intuition connected with it. So it's kind of like the more feminine aspect, because with astrology, you don't always get the intuitive aspects. It's a science, but palmistry also has that intuitive side to it. So it's kind of like the sister, their brother and sister. So I learned the Western system of palmistry from my teacher, Patrick Geoffroy. And I wanted to also learn the Vedic system. So I found that the Vedic system is another incredible system for understanding the hand. So I probably went to India maybe 12 or 13 times, and I even studied Sanskrit to learn the palmistry texts. And I talked to a lot of other astrologers and palmists, and it's been a fascinating journey. So I like to combine both the Western system and the Vedic system. The Eastern system is over 10,000 years old. In fact, the earliest book that was written in India is called the Hast Samudra Shastra. It means the scripture. Shastra means scripture, and Hast means hand. So it's literally translated as the divine science of understanding the lines on the hand.
Wow.
So that was written by a person named Garga Muni. He was a great yogi 5,000 years ago, and it's still in print.
That's awesome. What was your desire? Did it stem from something in childhood? I mean, because it is an unusual, very niche market, intuitive market. What drew you to palmistry?
I think palmistry drew me to it.
Oh.
I never even thought of wanting to make it a career. But let's say after high school, I was just drawn to it. In fact, in high school, when I was in the 11th grade, I saw a book on palmistry. And I started reading my friends' hands, and they were all saying, "What are you doing?"
Right.
And then I just met palmists and astrologers along the way, and I was loosely involved with the music business, the hardcore punk scene in New York, and I just kind of gravitated to making it a career. It became my career. I got sick of the music industry and everything around it. So, and at the same time, I kept my door open to clients, and it just supplanted that.
So you
So,
always had a very abstract, eclectic, if you would, career line, right? Between the music and the palmistry going on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I was in New York in the 80s. So I followed that whole metal scene, and I did a little bit of sound here and roadieing and all that kind of stuff. And I love the music. I love the music itself, but not the industry. And so I was able, because I was reading hands at the time, I was able to read a lot of music stars at the time. So it gave me it really opened a lot of things up. I was reading the hands of Lemmy and Gene Simmons and all these famous people, and it just kind of brought me to making it my career. So interestingly enough, I was at a Motorhead party one night in LA. We had just flown into LA. I was with a band called the Cro-Mags. I grew up with those guys. And I gave a reading to someone who was a recording engineer in LA. And he actually saw me at a 7-Eleven somewhere in Sepulveda Boulevard and came up to me and said, "What are you doing in the music industry? It's all you just do palmistry. You told me more about myself than I've ever heard in my whole life." And he just got into his car and drove away.
Wow.
And I said, that's the voice of God.
Now, I want to ask you what you just
Exactly.
said there. So you said the person came in and they said, you told me more about myself than I'd ever known before. So when it relates to palmistry, is that describing the actual present of the person, or does it actually talk about past and future events that could be occurring?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. When I sat with my friend Patrick and I watched him read hands, I saw that this science was able to tell people more about themselves than any career consultant, any psychologist, any therapist. I could tell that this science, this art of palmistry, could tell about a person's life purpose, their previous life challenges, the talents they bring into this world, and really how to, as Tony Robbins says, awaken the giant within. That's what I saw. I would definitely say that I came to it as a skeptic. I wasn't skeptical of it, but I came to it as a skeptic, and it proved itself to me. And our hand is our astrological chart. Sometimes people say, "Oh, life doesn't come with instructions." Well, Thomas don't believe in that. Life, everything's on our hand. Our entire individual instructions are on our hand. And it talks about our emotions, what we require, how to become fulfilled, what we've been searching for many, many lifetimes. And it talks about in this life, what we're here to do, what our talents are, what avenues to go down so we don't waste our time. Most people in this life are wasting their time doing careers that they shouldn't be doing. So palmistry,
Incredible.
yeah. I would say 90% of the people I've read for over the last 35 years are doing careers that they're not supposed to be doing. So that's my job, to help align them into the right career.
How do you read someone's hand this way? Because now everything's done, Zoom, you're in California, I'm in Florida.
Yeah, that's a great question.
iPhone.
I have people send me photocopies of their hands made from a good photocopy machine. And I have them mail them to me, because those photocopies hold intuitive energy. And even if they're put on the computer, it erases that intuitive energy. So I have people mail me photocopies.
A hard mail, like go to the copy machine.
Yes, exactly.
On it.
Fold it up, boom.
Yes. Yeah. And people love doing that because that's what intrigues people about the work that we do. There is a metaphysical element, if you will. There is a psychic element, if you will. And that psychic element gives us the ability to read into the future and the past. So people are intrigued by that. And then at the same time, I'll look at, I'll just have people text me their hands with their iPhone. And then I'm able to, yeah.
You can.
And then, so I look at both.
An iPhone. You can do it to
Oh, definitely, because the handprint, the Xerox handprint, the photocopy will give me all I need in the world of the psychic energy. And then when I look at people's hands on the texts, then I'm looking at the pure, let's say, astrological science of it all. I'm able to see the lines and the fingerprints, and I'm able to look at, okay, Venus is in the second house crashing into Mercury in the eighth, that kind of stuff.
Trivial stuff like that.
How can someone tell an authentic palmist from the ones that you just see with the hand and come in and read your palm,
The circus acts.
the circus acts?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. Before, these types of sciences, astrology, palmistry, psychic energy, they can absolutely change a person's life and give you tremendous insight and awareness into where to take your life and what will work for you. And so if you go to someone who's a qualified reader, they can really help you to understand that. If you go to someone who has a little bit of knowledge, as they say, a little bit of knowledge can really be a dangerous thing and can throw people off. Before you go to any reader, investigate who they are. Have they written books? Have they done interviews? Do they have a presence in the world of the intuitive community?
Yeah.
In other words, have they added also something to the science? What have they contributed? You see what I mean? In other words, a good
a lot of
palmist
sense.
astrologer will also maybe contribute something to the community of metaphysical
Vernon,
community.
I want to ask you this, is that
Makes
when you take a
sense.
look at astrology and palmistry, so, we've been doing this show for a while now, and you hear very little about palmistry.
Yeah.
You hear a lot about astrology. However, though, the feedback with astrology, it's a very difficult thing to be able to understand for many people. This is in this house. This is in this place. This is in that thing. You know what I mean? How come you don't see more palmistry versus astrology, with astrology again having that kind of
Influence.
influence? But again, where most people, when they walk away from an astrologer, don't really know what was just said. They just, you know what I mean?
Right. And I think that is a problem in our industry. For instance, I think a lot of astrologers spend too much time saying, okay, Jupiter is in the 8th house and it's conjunct with this planet and trine with this planet. I think there's too much astrological jargon talked about that way with astrologers. That's my big pet peeve, that astrologers talk too much about, and that makes no sense. If you have a repairman come in to fix your pipes, you don't care what they did. You just want to know, can I take a bath? So but the good news about astrologers that I think is wonderful is that they've worked really hard since the 1970s, to make their science credible. They've worn suits, they've worn nice clothes, they've elevated their science to something that is taken seriously. So I really commend them. In fact, I'm more inspired by the astrological community than I have been by the palmistry community. That's changing over time. There is a new breed of palmists who have come up over the last 20 years who have also brought dignity and respect to the science. But my job is just to say, hey, you're going to be good as an architect, go to architectural school, go to design school, you're going to start your own architectural firm. I don't get into, okay, well, your line goes here, so it means this, your line goes here, so it means this. It's useless information to people.
Exactly.
I agree with you. A lot of people are mystified by what people do, what we do. And we should just make it something that's just assimilable, rather than something that's, airy-fairy. So I agree with you. That's my big pet peeve in this world.
What do you think in the palmistry industry that the industry in general could be doing differently that would be up to par with how you're seeing the astrological industry right now?
I'm very positive about what I see. The last 20 years have brought a new crop of palmists who really take their science seriously and want to make a contribution to palmistry and hand analysis. And it wasn't like that in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. That you did have a couple palmists here and there who did some good work, and in Europe also. But now palmistry is becoming something that people are taking seriously because we have serious practitioners.
That's so cool. I love it. Okay, so we hear so much about the hand. You always hear about the one line here and the one line there and the one line here, like the three. Is there a difference between what's on your left hand as opposed to your right hand in terms of the significance of your life?
Absolutely. The right hand deals with the outer self, the left hand deals with the inner self. So I look to a person's inner hand to see what this person is like when they're alone in their room by themselves. And I look at their emotional aspects, what they desire, what they want, what their fulfillment aspects are. The left hand deals with the right brain. So it's the brain of intuition, the subconscious, the world of the soul. And the right hand, I look to the right hand to see this is a person's career, this is where they'll be successful. This is how they meet and greet other people. This is their approach to life. This is how other people see them. It's the outer self. So that's the quickest way of understanding. The right hand is the outer self. The left hand is the inner self. And it's actually the same for a left-hander. The only difference is left-handers, they listen. They have no filter between the intuitive brain. So they tend to listen to the intuition immediately, whereas our right-handers tend to question. We get an intuition and we question it. We put it through the ringer of logic and reason. And left-handers don't question it. They just run with it. So that's why, even though they're 15% of the population or less, and they always have been, they make the greatest. They sometimes, like Beethoven was left-handed, Jimi Hendrix was left-handed. They make they make greatest breakthroughs, and they're pioneers, and they don't question it.
Why are there so few left-handers?
There, for thousands of years, it's been the same thing. I learned that in India.
Wait
5,000 years ago, there was only
You know what?
15%.
Actually, this is just making me think about something. I was born left-handed, and when I went into a kindergarten, I went to a Catholic school, and they made me write with my right hand. So for a long time, I was ambidextrous. But I'm just wondering, now that you're saying this, if that is like a deep state conspiracy or not conspiracy of knocking down left-handers because they are more intuitive and trying to turn the left-handers into right-handers.
I would say to you, the hand that we write with is generally the hand that we're attuned to be. So if you can start writing with your left hand, you'll start to hear more the voice of your instincts and your intuition. Try writing with your left hand more. If you were born as a left-hander, be a left-hander. That's who you are. So start writing with it, and your intuition, your instincts, your gut feelings will start to grow.
That is really interesting.
So I just want to make sure I understood what you just said.
I used to play around with writing with my left hand a lot.
So like if a right-hander wants to tap into their intuition, an exercise would it be then to start maybe trying to write with their left hand to try to
No.
Yeah.
A right-hander should just simply trust their first gut feelings and don't second guess it. That's all.
Okay.
That's what us right-handers do. We second guess our intuition. We get an intuition, we get an instinct, and it goes through this board of directors in the brain, and they analyze it and subtract it and assess it and they throw it away. And that's the beauty of the left-handers. The left-handers don't have that filter between the subconscious. They just hear it and run with it.
I got you.
So as a right-hander, just don't question it. Otherwise, when you get an instinct and you see that you're going through indecision or confusion or uncertainty, then you're losing it. Trust it.
Fingertips, the length of the fingertips, do those have any type of bearing as far as palmistry?
Well, you asked earlier about the lines, and when people think about the lines, when they think about palmistry, they think about the lines.
Yeah.
And that's where the idea of palmistry came from. But actually, the lines are not even that they're not very important. Not as much as, like, let's say, the fingerprints. To me, the fingerprints are the most important aspects of the hand. They talk about what talents we brought from our last life into this life. In Sanskrit, that's called a sanskara. A sanskara means previous impressions. So that whatever we work towards in our previous life will show up on the hand. And so, interestingly enough, the fingerprints are, I think, the most fascinating part of palmistry. The Navajo Indians had a view that at 7 months in the womb, God blows his breath on the child's hands. And then though that breath materializes as fingerprints, and the fingerprints, and science has proved this, all the ultrasounds and all that kind of stuff, they've proved that the fingerprints are fully formed in the womb at 7 months, fully formed. And so within the womb, at 7 months, all your previous life stuff, your talents, your abilities, your challenges, all of this is already imprinted on the hand.
It's amazing.
So when a child is born, everything's already on the hand. It's going to show that this little child, she's going to become a pianist. Maybe she was a pianist for 7 lifetimes. Maybe this kid's going to become a famous baseball player because he was into sports in the last 3 lifetimes. So to me, the most amazing part of the hand is the fingerprints. Now, law enforcement uses these fingerprints for identification purposes because they never change, but they have no idea of how much wealth of knowledge and information is on those fingerprints. And the soul, which resides within the core of the heart, sends its message through the agency of the hand, especially the fingerprints. So we can't see our soul. It's 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. And the soul is in the heart. It's called the Jivatma. And we don't have the eyes to see it, but it shows itself through the configurations of the hand. And that's how we know ourselves.
It's amazing. With so many hybrids wandering the earth, have you ever come across the palm of a hybrid? And if so, can you detect a human from like a hybrid? We'd like to share a story. While it may sound fictional, it's very real and happening right now in front of our very eyes. It's called The Great Awakening. Our sisters and brothers that come on Spiritually Raw are doing everything to help expand global consciousness, and in many cases putting everything on the line to share their messages about what's happening around the world for the greater good of humanity, while exposing the truth of the deep state and the dark forces behind it all. We are living in the most unbelievable times. Some may even say biblical, scary for many and yet exhilarating for others. Together we are taking part in getting everyone acclimated to the Great Awakening process and the exciting new discoveries that lie ahead. The sad part is many of our amazing guests are being heavily censored, socially shamed, and outright banned on many platforms for exposing the truth and piercing the veil. By becoming a viewer, you bring your powerful energy towards this global movement of other truth seekers. If you're resonating with our show, please let us know by hitting the like button, sharing, subscribing, turn on the notification, and leave some comments. Together, we will turn the universal key to global harmony and create a unified world. And remember, tune in often, tell all your friends, and most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Thanks, and God bless Patriots worldwide.